Hello, my good and gorgeous people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Glad, happy, and excited to be back here. It's yet another lovely and gorgeous moment. We're here to just have some cooking time. As you can see, I'm in the kitchen and I'm already having some ingredients here. I need to prepare one of my favorite meals. And I know when I say that, most of you get to understand what we are cooking today. So it's your girl Latez, in case you're new to this place, and this is Looking at Life with Latez. This is a wonderful place, a place we come learn, talk, share life issues, at times get to know about Latez, have some cooking time, some vlogs and such like. So it's a wonderful place. You will not get bored to be here. Kindly remember to subscribe, and in case you're coming back, thank you so much for always coming back. This is a wonderful place and I'm happy to have you all here. Lord, to 1,000 subscribers, and thank you for the support. We are almost getting there. Latez is very much excited. We thank God for that. And as I've said, today is cooking time. And do you know what? Sitting down in a kitchen is an abomination. So let me start up and let's start the cooking. I'm having a visitor today, and I felt that it is good I just prepare some chapati so that at least the guest can feel a guest. You know, at times when you visit somewhere and you get to be cooked chapati, you feel like you are really waited for something of the sort. So, and again, I love chapati and I love cooking chapati and I have some free time, so why not? Though I'm not cooking quite much, but at least we'll have to taste one or two. So let's start our cooking. So as you can see, my ingredients today are quite easy. I don't have quite a lot of things today. We are preparing African chapati, just the normal homemade chapati. First we have our wheat flour, which is here. We'll be having just a little amount of sugar, some salt, and I'll put some carrots in my chapati so that it change the color. For those who know me, you know that I really love chapati with some carrots. So to start with, let's get to sieve our flour. Let me get a spoon. These are just 2 cups. As I said, I'm not cooking a lot of chapati. Sieving helps your flour in aeration. So if at all you have time and you are not cooking quite a lot of chapati, because at times when you are cooking a lot of chapati, you cannot be able to sieve the entire flour. But for me, I'm just doing 2 cups. At home, you can always try to sieve your flour. And I think for sieving, we are good to go. Then I told you I'll be adding some little sugar. I've added 2 spoons. Just a pinch of salt. In case there's anything else you want to add, that is maybe a dry ingredient, maybe you'll have some cardamom, cinnamon or anything, you can add. But for today, I just want some plain chapati. Then I'll be grating my carrot. This part of carrot is always for the chef, so you should always ensure that you remain a small part for the chef to enjoy. Now we are done with the carrot and we just mix it here. Carrot to screen. This bowl is a bit small, but we'll have to use it as it is. So you just mix to ensure that the carrot is well distributed. I had already warmed my water, my usual measuring cup. So I think from here I'll start the kneading. And always ensure that you use warm water. My water is warm. When adding the water, ensure you add it gradually. Don't like add it all of it. If you want to have a simple time when kneading, ensure you add your water gradually. As you can see, I'm doing bit by bit. At this point, I can now pour my dough, and I now knead it here, because at least here there is good space. Kneading on a surface is actually very easier than maybe using a bowl or such like. It helps you to like evenly distribute the energy you're using with your hand in the entire dough. So if you have some good space, use the service rather than the bowl. I would advise you to use that. It's easier and faster. I added some water because I realized it's a bit stiff, because actually your chapati this will be determined by the kind of dough you make. So if you mess it here, you're doomed. So you have to ensure that your dough is good and of the light texture to make good chapatis. At this point, I feel like our dough is good. I'll just be adding some little oil. So we put our dough there. So from here you get to cover your dough and leave it for quite some minutes. If at all you have time, you can allow it to rest for 30 to 40 minutes. But if you don't have time, you can maybe leave it for around 20 minutes. But the more time, the better. And as we wait for our dough to rest, we can be preparing ingredients for our stew, so that will not waste a lot of time after you are done with the chapati. One of the hardest part of cooking is usually preparing your ingredients, especially cutting your onions, your tomatoes and such like. So actually, if at all you have cut all these, cooking becomes very easy. I'm one person who at times, if I want help in the kitchen, I'll just have someone who will help me in cutting the ingredients, so that when I start cooking, I'll just be cooking without touching the knife and such like. So preparation is always very important. It's actually most of the tiring work in the kitchen. So if at all you want to be fast in the kitchen, start by preparing your ingredients, or maybe have someone help you in this, and then you do the part of cooking. It will be very easy. So I ensure that I've prepared my first. I started with the cabbages. I'll be doing some steamed cabbages and at least some beans. So I'll be cutting some onions for the cabbage, and then others I'm sparing to use for my stew, that is the beans. So that's why you'll see I have quite a lot of onions, especially for the cabbage. It loves at least, I love it when it has at least a good amount of onions. And then the tomatoes, I'll just be doing 2 tomatoes because I will not be putting tomatoes in my cabbages. I love them steamed with no tomatoes. So the tomatoes are just for putting in the beans. And actually today I just don't want a lot of ingredients. I just want the homemade. I just want the homemade beans with no much additives and such like. I don't want spices and such like. I just want simple thing. We are done with cutting our ingredients. So I think from now we can start cooking. We'll first cook the stew, then we finish up with the chapati, so that at least we give our dough some good time to rest. So I'll just be steaming my cabbages and cooking some stew. My stew will just be having just beans alone. So that would be my stew for today. So let's cook the stew. From there we finalize with the chapati. We're gonna now start cooking. We'll cook both of them simultaneously so that we save on time. So here I'll be cooking my beans, and here I'll be steaming my cabbage. So we'll try and cook the both of them together so that we save on time. So let's start our cooking. When steaming my cabbage, I always put my onions and my cabbage together. That's how I love doing it. At this point, I feel our cabbage is now ready. Actually, cabbage should not overcook. You should actually steam it just to get some oil and some heat, and it's done. So I feel our cabbage is now ready. As you can see, it still has that green in it. So you should not ensure that cabbage is overcooked. You'll make it lose its nutrients, because actually cabbage do not have a lot of nutrients. So the moment you overcook, you're done. So we get to cover our cabbages and turn off the heat, because for that we are done. Now let's continue with our stew. That is our beans. As you can see, just some tomatoes. I got to add some Royco cubes just to add some taste, because I don't want any other spice. So from here, I think it's ready now. I can add my beans that were pre-cooked, and I had put them at least to cool because they were in the freezer. So that's why they are a bit stuck together. So from this point, I get to add my beans. They are not that much because I'm not cooking for quite so many people. I'm one person who don't love a lot of leftovers. So better food be uncooked other than cooked and just in the fridge. I get to add some little water. You know, my ancestors cannot allow me to have food without water. Just a little. Again, I don't want a lot of it. And because it was in the freezer, I have to allow it to absorb the water. And I leave it for some time to cook. And as we wait for our stew, we can now go back to our prepared dough and get to see its condition. Let's see whether it is as we, and we'll see whether it is as we expected. It's quite okay. This is actually another critical part in your making of chapati, because now you can have a good dough and then you mess it up at rolling. So, because my dough is not that much, I'll subdivide it into 4 parts, so that from there I'll have at least a little portion, so that I smear some cooking oil and then maybe prepare the smaller portions for rolling. So at this point, I'll just cut my dough into 4 pieces. And this is to ensure that at least the rolling part will be easier, because you see the space I have is not that quite big. But if at all you have a quite spacious place, you can maybe use a bigger part of your dough. But myself, my space is not that much. That's why I'm subdividing it into portions that I'll be able to like roll properly. Because from this point I want to roll and maybe apply some oil, and then from there subdivide them again. If at all you want some nice chapatis, you can't afford to be lazy. Yes, you have to roll and roll again. That's why we always say at times, you cannot just eat some yummy and maybe layered chapatis and you will be lazy. No, you have to know that there is a work to be done. So as you can see, my 4 pieces are ready. Now I start with rolling. I cannot make 1 chapati in this dough, so I'll subdivide it into 2. So in total, I'll be making 8 chapatis. My dough can now tell me that the maximum chapatis I can have is 8. You make chapatis according to the size you want, or maybe the size of your pan, or maybe the guests you have, or maybe your preference. So the size of your chapati is determined maybe by the dough you cut for rolling. So this is where you get to choose. Do you want a big chapati, a thick one, a thin one, a large one, the size of your pan and such like. So here it's where you make the decision. But myself, I want at least a chapati sizable with my pan. And I also don't want it to be so thick that at times you eat and you like it so thick. I want to be a bit thin and light. So my 4 parts of dough, each part I'll subdivide it into 2. So you see, I've been able to roll it. Now I'll be adding I'll be like applying some oil on top. It's just a way of making your chapati yummy and layered. So as I've said, you can't afford to be lazy and you want some good chapatis. You have to work and work for it. So from here, I cut it into some small pieces. You can just get to see maybe what I'm doing, because I might not be able to explain best. Actually, the setup of my house is not doing me justice, because at least the camera should be on the front end. I can't wait to that time I'll have a kitchen that has maybe a working area at the center. These are the things we are manifesting for. At least spacious kitchen where you can cook from any side, because at the moment I feel I'm not giving you a good view of what I'm doing. So as I've said, I'll be now making some other smaller and sizable parts to make now my chapati. So I'll pick like maybe 4 or 5 pieces of the cuts I've made, as you can see. And now I make another smaller sizable dough that is now for rolling as I finalize making my chapati. I hope you've gotten to understand what I've done. And now I'll do all these to the 4 parts to make now my 8 sizable dough for chapati. So let me do this, and we now catch up as I finalize and we start our cooking, because cooking chapati is like a process. We always say that It's one of the easiest if at all you've gotten used to it, but if at all maybe you don't love something that is engaging you in the kitchen, it becomes a bit hard. You know, there are those people who will want to be in the kitchen to just go maybe cook some rice, leave it cooking, cook some stew, you leave it cooking. For chapati, it is really engaging because you have to be there in each and every process. Because you start by kneading, you now rolling, from there you start cooking, and it involves you in each and every part. There's no any part that you just leave it to cook on itself, so no resting. So that's why at times chapati becomes a bit chaotic, especially when you're cooking a lot of chapati. Have you ever gotten your point that you are cooking maybe 2 packets of chapati? It is usually tiring. Like when I'm at Ushago, at times I feel I'm cooking chapati and I'm like, oh my, I'm not ready for this. You have to start cooking very early because the amount of chapati you're making, hey, it's not a joke. You really get tired. Because yeah, I'm just making 8 chapati and I'm very assured that by the time I'll be finalizing, I'll quite be tired. Because it's quite a work. It's not easy. So let's continue with this. We finalize the entire dough and then from there we'll be good to go with our portioning so that now we can start rolling. From rolling, actually the much work is done because the rest of the part is much easy. So let's finalize this and get to the rolling part. This is actually a process that will make your chapati soft. So you can use various methods of maybe adding some oil and maybe cutting and sizing it, portioning it. People have their various methods. I also have various methods that I use, but at times I try to interchange and get to see the results of each. There's some you can just roll each part and roll it on itself. Some you can just do the entire dough and then use it, cut it entirely. There are a lot of procedures you can use, but it's good to ensure that you have applied some oil before you start rolling your dough. So don't be lazy. Yes. So you can see we are almost finishing. It's quite overwork, but it's good because it has better results. I'm assured when you use this procedure, you'll get to have yourself some nice chapatis. If at all, you did everything okay, especially in kneading and such like. Now we're actually on our last one. We get to size it also. You can sprinkle some flour on top of it. It is one of the methods of doing it. And here we are. We're done. Now at least we have our 8 sizes of chapatis. Those are the chapatis we'll be making. After all that work, this is what we've gotten. If at all you have some time, you can still cover it for some minutes. Chapati is actually requiring a lot of time. You can cover it for maybe at least 10 minutes if you have the time. At least to rest a bit before now you start the lowering. Now from here, we'll just go straight to our cooking part. As you can see, we are now done with our first part of rolling, and after rolling, we dry our chapatis. Don't roll and directly take your pan to the oil. So as you can see, I'm trying to dry up the chapatis a bit, and you can see the ones that are on the plate, they are already at least heated up. So after rolling, heat up your chapati. Don't first apply some oil. Now after you have finalized heating all the chapatis, or maybe a portion, if at all maybe you're cooking many chapati, you can now start applying oil to all of the chapatis. So don't get your chapati from the rolling and you go straight and maybe apply oil on it. No, give it some time before you start now applying your oil. Now from here we can start our cooking part. This is how I love cooking my chapati. Not putting the cooking oil on the pan, but applying it on top of the chapati. Then from there, I get to turn the chapati and it gets to cook the downside. I apply the top part and I turn again. So this is how I cook my chapati. As you can see, the size of our chapati is good. It is sizable in relation to our pan, and at least it's colorful. Even before it gets cooked, it is still colorful as it is. So this is how we're gonna be cooking them. They are just 8, so the process gonna be very fast. We're gonna finalize it very fast. At least the chapatis are not that much thick and not that much thin. So I am really purposing to buy that load of turning the chapati. For now, I use my hands. But when you press one chapati on top of the chapati that is cooking, you don't get to burn your hands. But all the same, there is that wooden handle that I've seen. It's being used nowadays to turn the chapati. If at all there is someone who is selling it, you can refer me to them, because I feel I need that one. You can see how a chapati looks yummy. By a distance, you can tell that the chapati is well cooked and it's looking good. It's not burnt. At least it has the good brownish color of a lovely chapati. So let's do our cooking. It's gonna be very fast because as I've said, there are just 8 chapatis. The good thing of cooking rich chapatis is that you get to finalize the cooking faster. So that is us cooking. I usually at times pile up chapatis up to 4 or 5 as I cook. This ensures that the chapatis remain hot. By the time you're extracting all of them from that place, they'll be very hot. So we continue with our cooking, applying the oil, turning and such like, and at least getting the view of our lovely chapati. By now, the entire room is smelling with the aroma. You can see how lovely they look. You should actually normalize having something added into your chapati. Maybe you make pumpkin cakes, carrots. Maybe you make pumpkin chapati, carrot chapati. Maybe you can add even a butternut. You can maybe add, at times you can add cardamom or cinnamon at times to give the chapati some color. Cause when you cook, at times you can even add dania. There are people who add dania in their chapatis to ensure that your chapati has some color. Or maybe still use the atta chapati. It's also actually good one. The brown fra for chapati. To ensure that your chapatis are not so white and plain. Cause I'm one person who loves chapatis when they have some color. You can see how they have some good color. And actually, this color is from carrots. That's why myself, carrot chapati is my favorite. I'm one person who don't love butternut and pumpkin and such like. So the only thing that I think I can add, maybe I add something like cinnamon, cardamom, or maybe carrots, or maybe the dania. Those are the things that I can add on my chapati. So if at all you want a different look in your chapatis, add something. Yes, just grating a carrot and it makes your chapati look this colorful. It makes it have a certain good color other than just the normal white chapati that we have been eating since we are young. At least make some change, add something. Especially for those people who love butternut, this is a plus for you. Those people who love pumpkins is a plus for you, because pumpkin also, it makes chapati look so lovely. So as you can see, I love piling my chapati this much, but at this point, I think my first 4 are cooked and I removed them. Here is our final chapati. It's a done deal and it's that easy and done. And at least we're gonna have to enjoy our chapatis by now. So it's that easy. I've showed you the entire process of how I've made my chapati. Until now, we are finalizing on our last one. So, no excuse. Make yourself some chapati also. Finally, our chapati are ready. can get to see how soft they are, and I can't just wait to one thing. You can see the color, how they have such a good color because of the carrots, and again they are very soft. You can tell by when you look at it. See. At least the outcome is as we expected. So here we go. Cooking is never easy. If at all you have someone who cooks for you, you should really appreciate them, because kazi ya jikoni si rahisi. I'm actually really tired, and you see I've just cooked 8 chapatis, actually just 8, and just some little stew. Well, and now I need to first clean the dishes, at least make the kitchen tidy. I really appreciate our house managers and those people who, our moms, and maybe the housewives, those who cook every day. Well, don't at times undermine the kind of work they do back at home. Cooking is not easy. See how I'm sweating? I'm actually really tired. Really tired. Just spending 2 hours in the kitchen and I'm feeling like my body is breaking. But anywho, we are done with the cooking. I'll show you what we have cooked as we present it, as we get to it. But for now, let me clean up the kitchen, at least ensure that the place is well tidied up. And from there, we can sit down and share the meal together. But at least we have to taste our chapati, because why not? It's quite yummy. And the procedure is quite very easy. I've shown you everything that I've done, and you get to have your very soft and sweet chapatis. We always say that sweet is not good, but once in a while, it's not bad. You know, nowadays, we are getting advices from all over. Everyone is like, oh no, what? Sweet is not good. We should stop eating wheat. How do you tell me to stop eating such chapatis? How? No. These ones, you just have to allow me to eat once in a week. But you're active, and at least you're not just eating wheat each and every other day. At least you're able to eat wheat. You balance it with something else, not just wheat all alone. You have some good proteins. You take enough of water. You also take fruits and such like. I don't think wheat is that bad. Mimi venye napenda wheat, venye napenda chapati. If I go and someone tells me to stop eating chapati, how will my life be like? So, let me enjoy my chapati. We get to catch up later. We need to cover these chapatis so that they don't get cold. And finally, it was time to serve our food. This is what we have made for today. Some chapati, some stew of some beans, and some cabbage. Just simple meal. No much complication and such like. something that you just prepare on a normal day in your house. So that's our food for today. Quite yummy, quite attractive, and it's something that you love to eat at any given time. Chapati always goes well with cereals. I don't know whether it's only me who love my chapati with cereals, either kamande, beans, or maybe what else? Some people who love it with jahe. Personally, I don't love eating chapati with jahe, but beans and kamande are my best. Anytime I cook chapati, I want to do with those, and maybe some greens by the side. So that was our meal for today. At least it came out as expected. Let's enjoy, and you're welcome. We really enjoyed the meal, and we just wish you around. At least you get also a taste of our today's meal. But don't worry, next time you'll be my visitor, and I'll cook you whatever you wish to eat. If you love chapati, I'll cook you that. If you love pilau, I'll cook you that. If maybe you love githeri, I'll cook you that. If you love matoke, I'll cook you that. So we have at least the privilege of eating what you want. I told you that cooking is not really my passion, but I don't get bored cooking, especially when I have someone I'm cooking for, or even at times I'm motivated to cook for myself. So in case you want us to prepare something together, or you want me to prepare you something, kindly tell me, and you're welcome to come visit. And that is that for today. Until next time, bye bye. Love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.